one for today. TrainHard versus Team Empire. See you then. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to EUL. They've been training very hard here for their game. It's TrainHard versus Team Empire. Let's see who can come on top today, as Empire, after their victory versus G2 last week, are poised to collect some extra points. Reminder, these 3 playdays today and this weekend are the last days for this stage in EUL, so it's all about the points, and it's very important for all of that. Happen Ace joined me on the analyst desk. And what's the story here for Empire and TrainHard?
I mean, really, it's about Empire following up the win against G2. There's 9 points left available for them in this super week. If they can, I mean, if you think about Empire 2 weeks ago and you say to me, Empire finished the season on 12 points, they finished stage 1, 12 points, I'm going to say no way. So they've got a real opportunity here to prove me and a lot of other people wrong, I'm sure.
And I think TrainHard have the same opportunity here. They have been losing quite a lot of their matches. There has been some shows of greatness, potential greatness, but they haven't been able to convert it yet into actual consistent wins. I believe they have like 3 points overall. So it's also a chance for them to prove the doubters wrong, to prove their critics wrong, that they actually deserve, well, not deserve, but they can get along in stage 1 straight away with the competition that is up here.
Okay, well, let's take a look at our French squad here. 5 out of the 14 French players in EUL, as you've seen in our initial video with Lilun and the Vitality squad. Unfortunately, not having a best of time, but it's understandable. They just came in with this roster. It will take more than this stage to fit together, really, and perform as best as they can. But what are they looking like today?
Yeah, it is a crucial part of stage 1. Let's just put it up like that. They need to perform now or be left behind, as they're facing themselves potentially ending up in one of the bottom 2 seats of that table, and it's not really somewhere where you want to be. Now, take a look at the round performance on the right-hand side. You see match 2 being won right there against Secret, but the rest was all pretty convincing losses. And I actually took a little bit of calculation upon me, like I normally do, and the average of them ending a match is with 3.8 rounds behind the opponent they're playing up against. So it generally aren't really close matches they're coming up to. Today is an opportunity for them, though, as they are playing against one of the other teams that is finding themselves at the bottom of the table. Of course, already had Secret, so this is a very important one for TrainHard. If they manage to win this one, they already have the head-to-head over both Empire and Secret, so it's up to them to show it.
All right, and their opponents, Team Empire, our Russian squad, fitting together decently now. They've been able to squeeze out a win against G2 with some games that are a bit closer than one would expect, but still a long shot away from their highest of highs.
It is, and I mean, there's a lot of yellow on that round performance graph, Milosh, and coming into Playday 1, it just really wasn't something we expected. This is the November major winning team, but they have lost game after game for the first 5 Playdays. But the interesting thing about that round performance graph on the right-hand side is 3 of those games have only come down to 2 rounds. You know, there's only the Kavana game, really, where they've lost by this huge margin, and BDS is BDS. You can pretty much write that one off. Anybody can lose 3 or 4 rounds to BDS on the day. But Virtus Pro, Vitality and Rogue have all been close games. G2, a very close win. So Empire are steadily improving. That's the one thing that we can say. G2 was by far and away the best performance that we've seen out of this team so far. And the 2 players that I picked up earlier, I want to highlight again here, Dan and Always. They've been a bit quiet so far this stage. You can see it in the ratings. You can see it in the kills. But they had a big day against G2. I think it was 27 kills between the 2 of them, and it just facilitated Cyber Joystick Shepherd to carry out their jobs without having to worry about getting in and getting those kills. So it was great to see them step up. Hopefully we'll see more of it. It's going to be a confidence thing. That's the we've got to remember, all these players are super capable. It's just about sometimes the mental game. Bad week after bad week is going to breed bad performances. Let's hope that they can continue that form forward.
Hopefully so for them. We want to see everybody performing to their best. Who's our head-to-head for this one. You guys pick one player out of each one of these two teams. I'm quite curious. It's Spark and Shepard. It seems like one is the French to the Russian cousin of the other in this one.
Well, very similar, yeah. We can see playing
looks,
everything. We can see that they play in the same operators as well, playing a lot of ace, a lot of smoke, a lot of support operators. And Shepard, for me, has been just an all-round hero for Empire at times. When they were struggling for kills in the first few weeks, he was picking up those big 1BXs that we can see on his card there. 7 plants, 5 of those, Milosh, came against G2. He took every single opportunity he could to get that diffuser down and active, to play that objective game, and it worked for Team Empire.
Yeah, and Spark, on the other hand, he's been gone from competitive for a while. He's been sitting on the bench and now back into his first full season. Not really showing up yet. Some people are blaming his attachment choices, but we all know that's just preference right there. I think he just needs to get settled a little bit in the team, because the entirety of TrainHard is not looking too hot so far. It's not over yet. He has a good opportunity to show up today and get some clutches on the board, or at least plants.
All right, quite curious then. Let's see which map we're going to be playing on. By the way, don't mind the timer. Our lobby is not ready yet, so we're going to have time to talk about this map. And it's going to go to Clubhouse, where Empire will be starting off on the attacking side. Really, yeah, understandable. You know, it's nothing out of the ordinary for this one. TrainHard will have the advantage of going on defense. Does this aid them? And I don't know, what sort of data can we work with here, Hap, to understand how well TrainHard can do in this game?
The latest Clubhouse we've seen from them, you can take a gamble what the score was.
Not good.
That's lightly. Yes, it was a 1-7 against BDS. Of course, it's BDS in that case. So you're not really expected to win, but they started out on the defense and they were only able to win 1 round. So that is not looking too hot. Of course, they managed to do better in the actual French Cup afterwards, but I'm still worrying for them, because we didn't really see those results being translated into Europe. Something we did see, however, over the last, I think, 2 days, is that they do have some promise on their attacks, but the defense really needs to show up as well.
I mean, looking at the side of Empire, Milosh, they've played Clubhouse twice in this stage. They've lost it twice. You know, that doesn't take genius to work out. They've only won 1. It was on console against G2. So it's not gone well for Empire here, but it's interesting, Hap, that you pick up on the defense and the defensive side for TrainHard, because, to be honest, Empire have been okay on the attack. They've struggled Church and Arsenal. I'll give you that. They've had a 0% win rate down in Church and Arsenal. But when we look at CCTV and Cash, 100% win rate. Bedroom and Gym, 50% win rate. So if you're going to pick up 2 out of the 3 sites, for argument's sake, and no Hap, we're not going to see Bar and Stock today.
I was already going to say, CCTV Cash win, 100% win rate is quite impressive, because normally that wall opens up really quickly and the whole side's lost. So,
well, that's on the attack.
You got to give them
that.
That's
on the attack.
Oh, okay. Never mind. In that case.
50-50 on the defense, which is still reasonably impressive. You're right. You know, even 50-50 on the defense isn't bad. But looking at Empire coming out on the attack to begin with, 100% CCTV Cash. If they can get good results, the 50-50 Bedroom Gym, if they can just improve that slightly, that could be 2 out of 3 rounds. That could be 4 out of 6 rounds. And it gives them a great advantage to start off with. So I don't think, even though they've had negative results here, that this is necessarily the worst pick for Empire. I think it could be a positive.
I just went a map before they actually played BDS, and it was also Clubhouse with TrainHard. You can guess what that score was. And don't spoil it, Tim. Milosh needs to do some brain training here. What was the score, do you think, Milosh? Was it better
TrainHard? They got absolutely smashed. It was even worse. It could not get any worse than that. 7-0, right?
They actually won from Secret, Milosh.
Secret? No, I'm thinking about Kovana. Okay.
Was it 7-5, Hab?
It was a 7-4, and they actually managed to win 3 attacking rounds and 4 defensive rounds. So that one was looking a lot better from the side of TrainHard. And, you know, we came into that matchup thinking, wow, Secret, they just beat G2, and then TrainHard beat Secret. What is going on? You are so crazy. But now we know that both Secret, TrainHard, and Empire are all on the bottom of the standings. So it's what are we going to see here today? Are we going to see a similar kind of scoreline for TrainHard as they managed to put up against Secret? Or is Empire back alive again, like after the game against G2, and will they do like a BDS kind of scoreline? You know,
look, first you can't blame me, first of all, for being a bit mentally not in the room currently, because I'm still fasting during the day, so I'm not really in the best of the best of mental shapes for it. But one thing I can tell you, when I had to pull every single one of my IQ points for this one, is that Empire, playing on Clubhouse, has had both very close games against Rogue and Vitality, both 7-5, and both could have swung either way. So Empire looking good, if you ask me.
I agree.
Remember when they were undefeated on this game for like a year? On this map specifically?
I agree.
Oh, geez, remember.
I do. And I think the map choice suits Empire. I favoured Empire anyway. For me, I think it's an Empire game.
I have to agree there. I think Empire will be taken, even though Dan isn't really in the same form as he was during Stage 2 last year and during the Major, which they managed to win. Both at those times, it was the MVP of the lineup. He's not really getting along as well right now, but Empire still, overall, after you look at the game that they played against G2, they should be the ones taking it here today. They should be the ones going to 6 points.
I'm wondering how it all could go between them. I wish we had more time to talk about individual players and what they can offer within the metagame, but our lobby is ready. So Hap, Ace, thank you so much for giving us a bit of info, shedding just a bit of your knowledge onto us in this game. It is time to give it to our casters. Jessica, await us on a Clubhouse between Empire and TrainHard. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Milos and Jess. Oh, it's great to kick off the day with you once again as we come into not just the start of another Playday, but Super Week itself. And what a game to start with. TrainHard, a team that has been struggling in the troughs of the league all season long against Empire, a team who still showed they've got a little bit of fight to give last week. I think we all have an idea on which way this one's going to go. But what are your thoughts on it, Jess?
I wouldn't dive into the deep end so soon because the only team and the only map that TrainHard has beaten anyone on has been Clubhouse. So there is a tiny, tiny bit of hope there for TrainHard. They're very lucky or unlucky, it depends how you look at it, that they're going onto a map where they've had one positive little bit of outcome on recently. That was against Team Secret, as you heard the analysts going over. So for me, if there was ever an opportunity for TrainHard to take away one more win, it might be again on this map. Mind you, when I say unfortunately, it might be the worst team to go up against a Team Empire that has coaches that love to rip through every single inch of someone's VOD, and they will know everything that you're going to do. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we get a little bit more poignant of a ban here today, or maybe Team Empire just do the same old, follow the recipe T to T.
Quite possibly. I had a player actually jump into a stream the other day and say a comment around, you know, Empire aren't really a team that pre-plays drones very often. They're a team that will just kind of rely on, we'll collect information as we need it, rather than worrying about pre-placed drones, which kind of makes you ask the question, is there an opportunity here for players like Blaz, who we've seen moments of greatness is probably the way I would describe it so far. Definitely not with any kind of regularity or rhythm. Moments of greatness. Can he get up in the grill of Empire and cause a bit of trouble, you think, on a map like Clubhouse, with knowing that there aren't really too many pre-placed drones around the map for Empire?
I want to be a little careful about how I speak about it, because every time I speak negatively about a team, something almost the opposite happens. And every time I speak positively, I tend to curse them. So I'm very careful, and you guys are going to be thinking that I believe in superstitions when I absolutely don't, but it's happened more often than not. So I am going to be careful what I'm saying. I'm going to be super objective when I point it out. The Clubhouse thing was one of them. When it comes to Team Empire, my worry has been, and my comments still stay the same, even though they do have a win under their belt now, is that I feel like since they got used to the 30 or 20-second meta from last year, they came into this year, that was pretty well resolved for the most part, and they haven't crept up with the meta into how you're meant to as a team. They were winning for the most parts by playing off the 20-second meta, playing step by step. That works really well in a 20-second meta because you have the time to do it. Teams are playing behind all of that utility. You getting rid of the ADSs, the magnets, destroying shields that people are hiding behind. You get the leg up in that. Okay, that's cool. When it comes to Team Empire, however, they're not in that meta anymore. You must conform to the new one, and I don't think they've done that just yet. So, as we do, believe we will get into the lobby very shortly. I'm not sure, but what do you think about that social vote? Almost no faith in TrainHard currently.
I mean, it's hard to be a believer, Jess, let's be honest. With how the season's played out so far, if you're a TrainHard fan, well, you are hardened by defeat at this point, I think, given how many you've been through. But again, like every team, even the ones that are at the bottom of the table, looking at the likes of Secret, TrainHard also being included, we have seen flashes of brilliance. We have seen excellent individual plays that, done more consistently, could result in a win. Empire, I'm also going to lord it over your head here that you chose to go to Clubhouse and not Coastline. Didn't want to turn turn this into a frag fest, wanted to go something a bit more structured. I think at this point we are the only region around the globe that has not played Coastline at all this season.
You would be correct, and a lot of people in EU are saying this map has been recycled far too much. We don't want to play it anymore. So there you go. I did say maybe we would see some target bans. The only different ban we have seen so far has been this Valkyrie. And when I say the only different, they've banned it once before. This is going to be their second ban of it since like November of last year. This ban, however, from TrainHard, this is not their usual ban on this map. Their usual ban is Kaid by far. By a long ways, they will almost always ban Kaid. Maybe it's because they expect their other teams to ban Thatcher and that's their response ban. But as a whole, all the rest of the bans are pretty familiar. Both of these teams will be expecting it. And as a result, both teams will likely run the mirror. So we'll see if that comes into the lineup. But we'll start downstairs where TrainHard will start their defensive bout. And we'll see whether or not they can repeat what was once giving them those 3 points here on Clubhouse.
What I am really curious about, whenever we see a anti-projectile ban come through, whether it's the Jaeger or the Wamai, what is the change that comes through from the other side? And there's that Kai pick, the one you were talking about so well that you would normally see it banned away. Not the case here. But with the Wamai banned away, I always expect that we're going to start seeing teams bringing along 4 nades. People spoke about when we came into the start of the season, oh, there are worlds here where you can run 6 frag grenades in a lineup and absolutely gut people. Think about when you see like a Maverick, for example, a Sledge and Iana together. Suddenly that's 6 frags that you've got a couple of magnets to deal with, which you have the Ash and the Sophia for in most cases that they can burn out. Everyone expected to see frag central, and we haven't really seen it all that much this season so far.
Oh, one of our beautiful admins, cop it down the bottom of your screen. Started the Super Week pretty much as passionate as it gets. And I don't know if Milosh reminded you guys, but if you go on Twitter and you tag hashtag R6EUL, you can possibly pop up on the screen. Go figure, huh? Get yourself famous. Mom, get the camera.
My only sadness is that we don't get to choose what gets shown, because I want to find the ones that have a real testing question for you, so I can present it to you and watch you like squirm. But no, it does go through a filter. They have to make sure, of course, it comes out okay. But please don't let that put you off sending in some tweets. We always love seeing what the community's got to say, what their thoughts are on the games. And hey, put a controversial one out there and maybe we'll have a good discussion about it at some point. But Jess, round number 1 is underway. Seeing the Aruni and the Kai coming out for that Denial, the Malusi at the same time. The smoke starting to feel very, very Denial heavy so far coming out of the side of TrainHard.
Oh, what a surprise. Empire going to the roof and doing a possible clear. This would never happen on the side of Empire. And if you can't hear the sarcasm, well, that's on you, because Empire is one of the most methodical and clinical teams inside all of EUL. They seem to do things the same way every single time. You were talking about lack of pre-placed drones. Well, that's probably because most of these players need them for the roam clear. You need about 2 to 3 going at any one given time so that you can confirm top 4s clear. Scyther, who 6-picked from the Ash over to the Thatcher, will be the one entering for some unknown reason. But if the drones call it clear, well, he should be good to get on down and make his work done. And they have 2 hard breaches to work with here, and that Kaid was 6-picked into, and they'll be very aware of that soon. So they'll have the Thatcher to deal with it. About half of the round has elapsed, though, and no one was even roaming there. So that's a bit of a problem for their time management, which they struggle with.
I was just about to say the time management piece really rings true here with that Denial base lineup that I was talking about earlier on. Just seeing here, how many options have you got to waste time for Empire and force them into these final 10 to 20 second executes? I speak about it all the time, Jess. When teams have no time left, they can afford to make no mistakes. And chances are, you forgot about that one angle. You haven't seen where that one player has just rotated to. You walk into an absolute slaughter fest. The round ends from there. But here, Empire aren't making bad progress. 60 seconds in, opening up the hallway. Another 50 seconds or so in, they're getting this church wall opened up. They're in a spot where they can start applying some pressure in here. They do get the second Selma blocked off the wall. The C4 comes out, not quite going to connect onto the player holding at the bottom of the stairs. But Durza has gone and done Durza things. How are you not holding this angle, Scyther? Oh my God, Durza's put them in the bin. 3 kills up main stairs. Guys, like, how? It's all I can ask. You've got
One
a guy
person
above.
on a drone.
You've got 3 on main stairs.
Bit of a shame and a bit of really good timing there from Durza to be unpredictable to a team that thrives off predictability, and that's what's going to happen here for Empire. 2 or 3 taken out in a swift movement from the carbine. No need to reload when they all line up in perfect succession for you. As we get down to the last 20 seconds, it is going to have to be a clutch among clutches here for both Shepard and Dan. Dan hasn't had the best of seasons thus far, and, well, he's going to try and make it a better one, but Blaz will trade off onto him, shut down that clutch opportunity for him, and as there's a 25 HP Shepard walking through Moto, it'll be Spark to capitalize on the chaos, and all of a sudden, it will be round number 1 here for TrainHard, and not to pull away from that, but that is a crazy, unexpected play that you don't expect a player to do, especially when you've got triple wall open. You're going to know there's multiple people on main stairs there.
That is such a Durza play. Such a Durza play. I can think of a few times this season where he just rocks up after being quiet all game, finds a 3k, and then disappears for another 4 or 5 rounds. It's one of those hero plays where I think it's fair to say in 95% of cases that is not going to work. You kill the first guy, the guy who's further up on stairs goes, oh, the guy in front of me's just died. Maybe I should get off drone here. Got off drone a little bit late, and then surely you don't lose the third firefight at the top of the stairs. But guess what? They do. 3k comes through. The round is ended there. Big hero play. It's a new little term I'm really enjoying saying at the minute. A hero play coming out of Durza, no doubt. And now to say, great job, mate. Now you're on Malusi duty, because now it's Blaz's turn to go off and pull off a 3k. He moves over to the Jaeger, and we move upstairs into CC.
It's funny because I think I commented that there was one team in EUL that had like 3 different Jaeger mates, and that was actually Kavana. It wasn't even TrainHard. And it seems like TrainHard, they want to follow the same trend, try and break out of this bottom standings tier that they're currently at. Yeah, I wanted to see where that drone was in relation to Dirtzer, and it wasn't close enough to be able to spot him moving up main. Sometimes you can just be droning over towards Moto and miss someone running up the main hallway, and that's all it can be. But this is something. All right, I like this, and I can't remember who I saw it from last year. They put a shield closer to red stairs. That's right over where Blaz is sort of standing, where that barbed wire is, and they'll put a couple of ADSs there to stop anyone coming underneath to try and blow up the wall denial from below. What they've done now is they've put in a super extended shield over towards one ADS to stop them from moving in. I have a sneaky suspicion they've done a little bit of VOD review here, TrainHard of Empire, and they're just completely countering them.
I almost really want to say BDS is the team that jumps to mind, because I distinctly remember Alem being sat downstairs behind a Goyo shield. Now, I can't remember if he was attacking into it. I just remember he was in the area while there were setups on the downstairs in the lounge area. Here, though, we should be able to get CC wall open nice and easy with what's become the tried and tested strat. Get the dart breach down on either side while it's booted out. Out comes the EMP. Wall is guaranteed to be opened on at least one side. However, unfortunately, the exothermic has been removed. I imagine that's what you laughed at, right?
Well, I laughed at the fact that a lot of their strategy looks like it's trying to deny the impact from below, and that's all well and good, but you didn't ban Thatcher like you usually do. So what was the point? Is the point because you expect one person to come up red stairs? Is the point because Joystick always holds a C4 from below and you're trying to block the line of sight? He's always outside lobby double door. I've seen a massive amount of games of Empire doing this. I wonder what it is to counter, or whether they just seriously thought Empire wouldn't take a Thatcher.
I think the fact that you get that East wall open so easily when the Thatcher's available, like as we mentioned again, Selma on one side, exothermic on the other, that wall is guaranteed to get open up. In a way, it's almost become more popular than even seeing a Maverick. I know it's banned away here, as is the Havana, but for a lot of teams, it's been the go-to. Bit of trading going on here around the garage area, but Noera stays king of the hill up here in Catwalk. 2 kills coming across his way, both Scyther and Shepard removed. Arguably, their job's already done with that East breach opened up, but suddenly your attention now starts thinking about, okay, where is it that Empire want control of? I always say you want at least 2 compass directions of control before you look for a plant here. You go for garage, you go for the default plant in behind the server stack, or you try and take control of the cache wall and try and plant inside a cache instead. There are options, is what I'm trying to say here. And for me at the minute, it looks like for Empire, it's going to be this garage take.
Tends to be one of the really strong power positions for the defenders, and then therefore the attackers once they start to make their ingress. You would have seen they reinforce both sides of it. That's because it's going to force the attackers to have to use another exothermic, which, guess what? Shepard's dead. No opportunity means that they could only jump through the window if they do get their way on in. Good little bit of trade there, but Dirtzer, he'll be able to take out Joystick on the different pinch push, and there's even a Surya gate on this window. I don't think he has anything but possibly a drone to be able to cancel it, and when you're in a 1v3 situation like this, not enough time left, you have to commit body and soul, and that's going to gift a freebie to Dirtzer, as that is now 2 rounds in the hands of TrainHard now, on a map that I did, rightfully say would possibly be one they could walk away with a win.
Let's just recap real quick. Round 1, Durza, 3k up main. Round 2, Noera, 3k on Catwalk. In 2 rounds so far, the 2 that Temper have taken, they've had these hero plays that Empire just simply could not stop or shut down. Doesn't matter how much resource they commit to it, what players they have focused on the angle, TrainHard are just hitting better shots so far. And I don't want to say that's going to become a recurring theme every single round, but it's clear that the pressure isn't there in the way that it should be to shut down these players in the spots they were. Round 1, okay, we can give away and say, fine, drones messed up. They didn't know where Durza was coming from. They didn't see him before it was too late, whatever. That round there, though, to lose 2 so quickly, I think, in the garage, and then lose a 3rd not too long after, that just, again, completely collapsed the round for Empire and threw away any hopes of being able to bring something back. I'm hoping we see something better here in round 3 now that we go to gym and bedroom. The only concern for me is that you see a very similar holdout here to the east side inside of CCTV and Cash, which probably means they're going to have a war over here against a member of TrainHard. And I'm again just thinking, what happens if 2 or 3 kills come flying through again, Jess?
Well, I was looking over towards their statistics, at least on the attacking side for Team Empire, and I'm saying to myself, okay, how do they usually do when they're attacking onto this side? Well, it's their 2nd best attacking side. The best attacking side is CCTV. That's the one they predominantly win. So to have lost that quite decisively, they're ending in a 1v3. That going over into Master Gym, they technically, and this is just statistics here, don't have as good a chance, or at least usually they don't. So for me, I want to see TrainHard keep the same vibe, and by vibe, I mean it's clear that they're trying to use whatever mistakes Empire are making and manipulate that. They're not trying to create a chessboard that works on their own terms. They're waiting to see what Empire's move is, and then they respond accordingly. And I think that's good against a team that is waiting to play that next step. And once it's interrupted, it can, domino effect, just affects every other step thereafter.
It's like when there's a child in the corner having an absolute tantrum and you're just sitting there quietly sipping from your tea. It reminded me of Kavana versus Rogue back in week number 1 when Rogue were kind of going absolutely crazy, charging around like a bull in a china shop on the map. And you just have Kavana sat there very quietly like, well, I guess we just play a bit of Siege. Then we just do our thing and get on with the job. And they won. You haven't got to do anything special. A little bit of advice I always give to people in rank, less so in this game. I'm nowhere near good enough at rank to give advice, is let the other side make the mistakes. You haven't got to make the crazy plays. Let them do the crazy stuff. We've seen both sides of that coin kind of come into effect. Again, round 1 was Durza taking the initiative to make a play. Last round was Noera letting them walk at him. And I thought for a second it was going back the other way, but it wasn't Durza finding a kill. It was just perfectly timed. Noera, the hero from round 2, has been slain by the villain that is Dan. A 2nd kill comes through, and now panic stations must be on for TrainHard as they beeline back to site. 3 remain, and in a minute and a half or so, Empire have cleared out 2 roamers and are now looking towards the execute.
Well, TrainHard, it looks like they want to square away this number. That it's an advantage Empire hasn't had since this entire match began. And so for me, I'm looking towards Empire and saying, okay, what do you need to do now that you've got the time on your hands? You've got 2-man advantage over your opponents here. Don't throw it away. And that's something that we see a lot of teams do, unfortunately. TrainHard, if they're not careful and they try and play the hero play like we saw just there, can lose numbers. But no, Blaz makes it only a 1-man advantage in total. And when you're down to the wire, and Team Empire, when they leave it down to the last 5-10 seconds to execute, which they're known for doing, they need to be careful they have enough numbers to overwhelm the site. Otherwise, hey, look over. We've got a shotgun 2, I believe. If I'm looking over towards both SMG-11s, then that's a really precarious situation in close quarters.
Well, we're always so nervous about timing for Empire. They've got to pull the trigger and make it happen. There we go. The 2 kills they need fell by the wayside to Empire, and that may as well have been a close to flawless round. I have to think it was. Very dominant by the side. When there's no, again, big hero play coming out of TrainHard, that's when we see Empire at their greatest. So now we know the story. Empire needing this composure, needing to find those early pickups and not get surprised by TrainHard. TrainHard, the ones on the defense, having to play this more disruptive style.
Well, really, they only lost 1 player over towards Gym window from Blaz, and that was an unexpected bottom of the window break. I don't expect them to know that. Of course, you do hope that they have better droning, but they had committed a lot over towards Cash and CC. Good early round take. A lot of teams have been reinforcing off the CC to garage wall to stop Empire's long angle that they usually open up, but they just opened it with the Selma anyway. So I think Empire, as I continuously am going to call them clinical, they find a problem, they deal with it, they move on to the next step. The first 2 steps were garage, CCTV, and then the second step was Cash. They did it flawlessly. When Empire's plan works and it goes on without a hitch, it's very clear what their plan is.
Alrighty, round number 4. Back downstairs we go. I always love talking about it. Not so much in a game of halves, but a game of quarters here, because it's what you get into. End of the 3rd round, you go back into it all over again. I suppose big changes here. Nothing really on either side. It's again that kind of denial game coming out of the side of TrainHard. And I think you're probably going to see on Empire side a little bit more attention being paid to operator positions, drones at the bottom of main stairs, because they don't want to throw away a round like that again. Because I don't want to turn around and say that it was a thrown away round, but it was a thrown away round, Jess.
Say it like it is, Des. That's what we want to hear. We don't want to have anything, sugar coated.
Oh, you mean no fence sitters, Jessica? I
was going to yell over you for the full name thing, but I'm going to let it go. Because there's absolutely no point
you never call me Derry. You always call me Des. I've always noticed that.
Correct, because I don't. Oh, I was going to make a joke. I was going to say I don't respect you enough to use your real name. But
I mean, you can also say that, and I know that stands true. I get it. I was going to wipe a tear away.
Nevertheless, while you're crying, something that I think I've identified really quickly was that 6-pick from Scyther onto the Thatcher. I don't think that was meant to happen. Look, Dan's the one repping the Thatcher now. Scyther's always been the main entry with the Ashe this entire season. So I think it shook up the roles in round number 1. I'm not saying that was what went wrong in round number 1. You can see Dirtsa right where he got that 3K in round number 1. I think it just shook up how they took map control and who was meant to push down first. That's all I'm saying.
Got it. Well, 60 seconds in. What are we feeling about game state at the minute? Because for Empire, again, you spoke in round 1 about the full map clear they like to do. It was about the 1 minute 50 mark. In fact, exactly where we are now when they started smashing open the floor. And you know how much I'm a stickler for time sometimes, Jess. Almost to the second, they've got started once again in the hallway, getting these vertical holes opened. And it was about the 1 minute 3 mark left that they then started on the church wall. So that's what I'm looking for. Keeping to time and seeing if they can do the 3rd and final minute without being disrupted by a certain Dirtsa.
Well, they did initially drone down main stairs whilst they were top floor. That's how scared of that main stairs they were. Shout out to them. They found a problem. Turns out Dirtsa was there, shot the drone, and pushes him back. Cool. Spark has been, you know what I like about Spark? He's been picking up all of his electric cores and trying to replace them. So when he gets them off that motor hatch, he'll replace them onto the triple wall. There you go, one in hand, replace it on the bottom, should be able to get all 3. I like that because, I mean, as a whole, you should be trying to resource collect. There we go. This time, when he doesn't have to be the Thatcher, he can take the R4C and rip heads off shoulders.
Well, and done so already with 2 kills going the way of Empire with 60 seconds still remaining. And all that was done from inside a kitchen as well, just taking those vertical angles. It's enough to say, let's go for the execute. You heard the smokes come out. Shepard going for the plant. Dirtsa trying to challenge up blue. Doesn't go so well. And now it's panic stations for the side of TrainHard as Empire are in full control. A bit of a flank maybe coming out from Always here. Needs to move a little bit quicker. The pre-fire comes through from Spark and he will collect a kill back. But it's 3 versus 2. 1 the bottom of main stairs, 1 at the kitchen hatch, and Always flanking behind inside of church, I believe. They've got the angles set up. Spark strikes onto Shepard, finds a triple kill in the round. Not looking too bad, but with only 20 seconds left, you've got 10 kills to pick up 2 more and walk away with the win. Something tells me that is simply not going to happen here, Jess. We're down to 5. A second coming out for Always in the round, and Spark, try as he might, cannot do enough to get this round over the finish line. Empire have now got this game into a steady pace, and they're the ones marching towards victory.
Dare I say that was one of the quickest attacks and plans from Empire this entire season. I'm sure statistically they've done it faster, but on a map where they go top floor down, that was fast. Once they got those 2 opening kills, they took a little bit of stock in the chaos and went, okay, Armory should be, for the most part, without the smoke and dirt, clear. We should be able to drop down, do a corner plant. They even employed the smokes to be able to get multiple pieces of cover. I really liked that from Empire. That was a really good showing of how, when their step-by-step works, it works wondrously. I'm glad that is a little bit of a showing of what Scyther could do as an entry when he's not, relegated to that Thatcher role, and what it shows for TrainHard having a little bit of over-aggression on angles maybe they don't need to.
It almost feels, again, that the onus now falls back towards TrainHard, though, right? They're the team that have got to make these big plays to upset Empire, because the last 2 rounds have been basically flawless, right? Round 3, the 2k kill out towards the CC Rome. They pushed in towards Logi, picked up another 2k. They did lose a member in the process, but it was as close to perfect as you could get without one person going down. That last round then, you even saw it descend into those 1 minute blocks that we spoke about. First minute to start on the verticals, the second minute to start looking towards church. Instead, they changed and said, forget about that. We have got the hatch open, but we're going to push instead through kitchen. Go for the drop, go for the plan, pick up collection kills. Away from there they went. It's looking very methodical from Empire, and TrainHard need to be the spanner in the works here. Otherwise, it feels hard as to how they're ever going to stop Empire collecting 4 rounds on the attack.
Well, a little bit of adaptation here from TrainHard. When they first held CCTV, they double reinforced that wall from Garage over into CCTV. This time, opened up a line of sight and chucked a bandit charge on there, because what a lot of teams have been doing is smoking off the wall, throwing a Selma on there, which Joystick is rocking the A, so he has every opportunity to do so, and then opening up a second line of sight into Garage, which puts so much pressure onto the Rafters player. Here we go. They'll catch one, but not two. Sparks gonna have to give up on that, and as he is sort of that wall electrification main for the side of TrainHard, he should have been aware that that was going to be done. He could have shot the bandit and committed to it. He didn't. And as a result, now they'll only destroy one Selma charge. They'll still have so much more to work with, and you can hear them exploding all over the map as the rotates will come out, and they'll attempt to do a bit of a pinch push by the looks of it.
Is this Blaz doing what Blaz did best? I remember him getting a 4K dancing around Cash Door a few weeks back, actually. Forget the opponent he was against, but he had a field day just weaving in and out of sight and completely disrupting the attacking team here in towards destruction. But it's Durza to take the peek over the bomb onto Scyther, who quite innocently stood up there with the breaching round thinking, I guess I'll just get rid of a bit of utility. And he goes, no, you won't. I'll get rid of your head. And that's definitely going to slow things down for Empire, who quite rightly get back on the drones here and think, okay, if we're going to approach this, what is the next course of action?
I mean, as much as that is an awful, awful way to lose to a pixel peak from Durza, who he could not have seen, there was no way he could have, at least he got that Ash charge out. He wasn't completely useless, and for the most part, he does now have the pinch angles opened up that Empire were looking for. This is going to put a lot of strain onto TrainHard right now. They need to take stock in multiple areas. They don't have a lot of intel operators, and one of their big hitters, Blaz, goes down, but Durza, he's having a field day here today on Clubhouse, and finally, they'll get rid of him, but not before evening the man count.
He looked like he was absolutely going to get himself behind cover then, but clearly as he ducked down, well, took a shot to the head and off the map he goes. Grenade coming out towards Spark, who survives the initial impact, returns fire with his own here. C4 coming out in conjunction with a smoke. A little bit of miscommunication between the boys there, quite possibly. 3 versus 3, 40 seconds to play with. There's still time for either side to pull off something special here, Jess, because I feel for the side of Empire, they've got everything open they need. They've got control of construction. They've got the east wall if they need it. They've found the kill on Spark, who's playing in red. Chaoxis steps into his position there in the grave and collects the kill onto Joystick. He is down, not quite out, but that diffuser is on the ground. It's going to have to be a bit of a frag fest, I think, in the dying seconds, as Empire need to go for a push. You've got Shepard holding the near angle, but now you need always to step in and go big. Finds one onto the peaking garage here. The 1 versus 1. It comes out. Why are you looking down, Chaoxis? Think you know something went wrong there. Shepard to collect the closing 2 kills and be the hero player for Empire to give them round number 5.
So what happened there was, unfortunately, after shooting the player over towards Cash, he had run out of ammunition in his SMG-11, which happens to all of us who will main the SMG-11. If you're trying to take on multi-kills, forget it. Pull out your secondary. You will not have enough to work with, and that's what happened to him there. If he had any other weapon, that might have been a different story.
Unfortunate that it comes down to the final 1 versus 1, and that's the case as well. Round 6 we step into. Empire, after going down 2-0, pulled it back to 3-2. Again, I'm sensing it's going to go to 6-2, but round 5 gives you a little bit of hope, dare I say, Jess, where it was a close one. It did come down to a 1 versus 1. You see TrainHard taking this 3rd round here and giving themselves a 3-3 at the half, or do you think Empire march on to 4-2?
Oh, I mean, it looks like Empire took the first couple of rounds as a little bit of a warm-up, dare I say, and it just seems they've been getting better and better as the time's gone on. That round looked shaky, and that came out of the fact that I think that they weren't expecting to lose Scyther so early in on the ingress there. He only opened up the wall. He didn't really have any of those kill impacts like he did on the round where they were pushing bottom floor. Now, I don't want to say that they're leaning on Scyther to be the big hitter, and statistically, that isn't necessarily shown on Team Empire stats as a whole. I mean, Scyther's second rated always is the highest rated, very, very closely followed by Shepard and Joystick, with only Dan having a bit of an off season. So they don't always lean on him to be the big player, like maybe Na'Vi has those big hitters on the team. I just think Empire can take momentum and run with it and can see what is working and what's not. And so on this round, the last round of the first half, they should know everything about TrainHard. They won this one quite dominantly. They can do it again.
Yeah, they bled 2 members so early. TrainHard did at the start of this round previously. I think it just marched in after about the minute 20 mark or so and just found 2 kills on the side of Empire. Then proceeded in towards logistics, picked up another couple of kills, and it was basically done from there. The writing was on the wall for TrainHard. They were not taking that round. However, looking back at the previous round, we said back in round number 2, well, Nuero's just pulled off a 3K out of seemingly nowhere and won the round for TrainHard. Round 5 was very different. So let's see if round 6 takes up any differently. It is going to start the same way, where you want control of the CC side of the map. So you have control of the south balcony that borders in towards the sites. It's always that question of how much time can you waste here? So how much can you starve away from them? When it comes to the attack, and he thought he dipped under the rotate, but not quite, or through the kill hole, I suppose I should say. Does that more than happy to pick up the kill onto Always, and that's going to sting because that's your frag grenades gone, Jess.
This is what I'm talking about. Empire, they have expectations, and expectations can often cripple a team. If you expect them to hide in there and play time, oh, you are wrong. You are absolutely wrong. And
Yes.
I think that this is the biggest thing here.
He just whiffed that EMP into the drone hole and didn't use it to get rid of the mute jammer, so that wall now won't get opened up. So Durza is in heaven right now. He can sit here and just gun out to his heart's content. Does get a couple of shots onto Scyther, but can't quite connect the kill. Down to about 60 HP here. The Ash looking a little bit worse for wear, but still able to frag out if needs be. It's a 4 versus 3. TrainHard with the advantage. You sat here thinking, okay, they can do this, especially when Blaz can just sit in the corner and pull out a play like that. Sure, he gets traded out, but at the point where you're in a numbers advantage, you'll happily take 1-for-1s. Nuera another, as Joystick seemingly had no idea he was at the top of red. Looks like this half is going to balance out at 3-3, Jess, and I think if you're on Empire's side here, you're probably just saying, man, we really could have picked up more with how well we played some of these rounds.
It's an absolute truth, and the way that they were able to trade over towards Adam's spot there, that's in the secret or storage area if you're not sure what we're talking about, that shows me that Empire know fundamentally what to do. See that smoke flying out as well. That should give a really good indication to Shepard, but very unlikely he can see through the smoke. So even if he strafed all the way left, he might not be able to spot that player who would be able to see through it a little bit better than him. Take that back. He'll pop the arm, but won't collect the kill. And I mean, yeah, this seems like a pretty impossible task here for Shepard. Mind you, on this very map, on defense, we've seen him pull out a 1v3 clutch post-play situation, so nothing's impossible when you're talking about Shepard. 7 seconds left, no time for the defuse. He's going to have to go for kills only. As he's looking through left, right, and center, he'll go down before he has an opportunity to spray, and TrainHard, there we go, will even out the first half. But if we look over to them statistically here, are we to say how well do they do on defense usually? How well do they do on attack? Are they more defender or an attacking sided team? They are far more a defensive sided team than they are an attacking. So coming out even actually bodes better for Empire.
Ooh, well, now let's see how things switch up once now. TrainHard step onto the attacking half of the map. The defense, again, relying on certain erratic moments, I think, to pull out any kind of magic, or just pivoting your feet and picking up a 3K is never going to be frowned upon too much. We'll see how Empire fare on the defense. Kicking things off, they're doing what we didn't see TrainHard starting out with. It's going to be the double electrification ops coming out. The Electro Bros, as I took to calling them for a short time last year, they're going to step in and play heavily for this Anal. So it's going to be Spark, ironically named, coming up with that Thatcher against the 2 electrification operators.
Well, they're going to start in CCTV, and for most people who've ever watched Empire, this seems to be the bread and butter of how they'll hold CCTV. Again, that 1v3 clutch situation I was talking about, Shepard was on this very site, on this very map. When I look over to the most played site, however, it's Church and Arsenal for Empire since about November. But they've mostly won CCTV, so it's not a surprise that they'll go here first because they do have one of the best win rates on it, whereas they do tend to play Church and Arsenal just a bit more with a little bit of a worse win rate on it. Good to see that they'll be employing some of those electric claws to the garage wall because a lot of people, a lot of teams will open up that angle and stop people being able to run back. Always, if he does play in garage, we'll need a little bit of freedom to work with, so that's why they'll be throwing them down there.
Every time they played this site, they brought along the Bandit, but admittedly, the Kaid, a little bit of a new addition for them. Taking place instead of something like the Maestro, the Legion they've brought along in previous instances here, doubling down on Denial big time and sacrificing a little bit of the information gain that you would get by bringing along the Maestro, of course, along with the Alder that we've seen go brr several times over the last few weeks. Bit of a short brr, but we'll roll with it. We'll see how it plays out. As it starts, you got Scyther trying to be quite aggressive coming here outside of Adam. I think just kind of to remind them, hey, this window is open, by the way. I'm fully aware of that, and I can come jumping out of it if you're not too careful. They can be a little more cautious about their approach here, not wanting to be too aggressive in terms of getting on a rappel immediately. In fact, they've got the wall opened off, so what they're going to do, drop straight away. Now, Noera is going to be the one, I think, tasked with trying to keep an eye on what's going on downstairs, supported somewhat by Durza.
It'll be interesting to see now that TrainHard have the platform wall open, where they make their next little bit of, attention. Where are you going to put your attention? Where are you going to put the rest of those EMPs? You've got 2 left, so you could really use them on Garage Wall if you wanted to. Or do you want to try and open up the construction wall? It will depend. But Empire, I've never seen them so aggressive. So I thought, okay, the most aggressive player, and rightfully so given his role. There's other players who are bouncing around near him, hopefully maybe looking for those trades. And all right, as they hear the EMP, that's a trick coming out. Does he have the right wall there? Did always get it? No, they doubled up on the EMP, so they've confirmed that wall being open. And Blast, no, Joystick, you weren't watching the lobby double doors. And as a result, he only gets the trade, but damn, we'll get one for the trouble as well over in bedroom. And there is the pinch push subjugated.
It was 1:40 post-round start before we finally started seeing bullets flying, but it was kind of this dangerous dance where Scyther was just towing the line of death and finally takes a step too far, or coincidentally, it's more Joystick at the top of red that doesn't take a step too far as Blast swings in for that 1-for-1. 4 versus 3 for Empire, still in the controlling position here. However, with the wall opened up, there's something that you can say for TrainHard around cutting around rotates, but look elsewhere on the map. What else can they really do here, especially now they're down to a 4 versus 2? They can't get construction open with what they've got. They're going to have to brute force their way inside something like Piano, or just go for it, and they are just going for it. One gets shut down, the second straight after. They just thought, Hail Mary, boys, charge into the breach once more and see what we can achieve. The answer, sadly, is not the round win.
That was a very surprising little bit of I dare say, I don't want to call it adaptation, but I'm going to go with that from TrainHard there, is to say, well, we're in a bit of a sticky situation here. We can make it work. We've got numbers to be able to trade off of each other, but I'm just going to make a god move and run in and hope that I'm bulletproof, pull a matrix. No, that's not how it works here, boys. And if you looked at Empire, they were absolutely locking down CCTV. Maybe even a rotate could have been a possibility, but that's okay. That's the very first attacking round for TrainHard. And if you look back to the first half for Empire, it took them a couple of rounds to warm up too. So I'm hoping for TrainHard, that's all it is.
I think at that point, it's one of those, if it comes off, they're heroes and they've just completely caught Empire by surprise and look like absolute thugs. When it goes wrong, they look like idiots, right? And I think back to teams like BDS or Rogue doing a very similar thing where it's like, bam, bursting towards site. And in fact, even thinking about G2, Citizen, a player who will just say, right, guys, we're going for a plant. Cool. I'm at the other end of the map. I'm just charging my way through and killing anyone I see. I'll catch you guys in about 20 seconds. And that is always the sort of strat they look to employ. So in that situation, in a 2 versus 4, the Hail Mary play may have been worth it. Dare I say that's what they actually rode off back when they were Tempera Esports, or at least a couple of these players. Back when they were on Tempera, I remember a game against Na'Vi on this exact map. TrainHard picked up 2 attacking rounds, and they were the most chaotic attacking victories I think I have ever seen, involving what you saw there, charging in through the breach, circling around red, circling through cash, and just basically playing Ring Around the Roses with Na'Vi to pick up the kills. It was absolute chaos. If nothing else, highly entertaining to watch.
Well, that's what we're all here for. I'm here for the strats and the breakdown, the minutiae. You're here to point out all of the exciting things, and hopefully we are a well-rounded team. Which, let's be honest, looking at the scoreline, for the most part, both of these teams are well-rounded as well. We have to say that even though there's been some troublesome rounds so far, that given the scoreline, I mean, they've been doing pretty damn well. You end the first half, complete 3-3. That means you're probably voting pretty well for the second half. I do hope for TrainHard, however, that attack doesn't, stint them anymore. And that's an interesting little bit of, furniture demolishing inside of the stage there. I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe that's a bit of a lighter side. That's the word I'm looking for. Couldn't quite come to my mind.
That's all right. We'd be kind about them, They're destroying some beautiful wood, maybe a few beer stains on it from the days in which Clubhouse was used. That's the angle that you're looking for, because this gives them the angle down to where the drop comes in on default, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's one that you want to challenge when you are stopping them from impact tricking, and you can also spot anyone that's behind bomb chassis doing it. Unfortunately, they've reinforced that wall, and you could hear the ting, ting, ting. That confirmed it for the sledge there.
Well, at least for TrainHard, they're on a similar sort of pace to what we saw out of Empire, not really focused too heavily on the vertical destruction inside a hallway. Instead, much more focused on getting inside of Moto. If you remember from last time these boys played on this map, Might not have been the last time, may have been the time before. Chaoxis drops into Moto, walks into church and picks up a 4K and absolutely cleans house. He got 15 kills on that map, I recall. He was an absolute godsend for them. Relying on a man who's got 3 kills in 7 rounds to do the same. Maybe not the best play, but one man that you can count on is Noera pushing his way down blue on the Zofia. This is the most common spot for an operator, I would argue, in this game ever. If someone's pushing blue, it's always going to be a Zofia.
Why Scyther didn't move out when he heard the EMP going off? He would know that there's going to be a grenade following, but you know what else is following? A tsunami of blue on the scoreboard. And as I speak it into existence, they make it a reversal. Now it is orange. I don't even know what analogy to use for that one, but it doesn't matter because they have squared away numbers in a matter of seconds here, Des. If you're a team losing man advantages like that, you got to question what's going wrong, but they make it right. Shepard goes down. That's an easy confirmation. And a 5 HP always, the top rated player for Empire, who's only got about 20 seconds left. All he has to do is deny the plant, be able to go 1v1, but he is one breath away from death now, Des, and this is worrying because the plant goes down, they spot his arm through the rotate, and it's all over Red Rover for TrainHard before they square away at 4-4 apiece. And hey, I think this has been going very rightfully back and forth on a map that I said TrainHard could probably steal away from Empire.
Ooh, I mean, that was a bit of a chaotic round for a second. Heart in your throat moment where it looks like TrainHard have got everything going right for them, and then bam, Empire turn on the kill switch and it's a 2v2 and you're like, wait, what? How the hell have they just pulled that one off? Again, kind of thriving in the chaos, I think, of players peeking onto the church breach, again through Moto. Chaos is not quite winning his ones, unfortunate, but you are right. This is about as close as it gets. TrainHard are putting on a show against Empire, and we keep on saying that, yes, it's too late for a team like TrainHard here to get any points that really matter, but they could matter towards the back end of the year. It is very, very early to start talking about relegation, but a mediocre stage 2 and a mediocre stage 3, that might be enough for you to get relegated at the end of the year if you're not careful. So every point matters, genuinely.
I was looking through all of the previous matches from TrainHard that they've lost. They've won one match, and that was against Secret. So I'm going to pull that one out of the statistics here of my analogy, or rather what I'm talking about, in that every other match they've played that they've lost, they have not gotten more than 3 rounds. Look at the scoreboard, Des. 4.
Be happy.
I mean, this has got to mean something good here for TrainHard, because if they can break that usual trend of them not getting more than 3 rounds on any given match that they've that they end up losing, which has been all of them bar 1, maybe this is telling us that they are going to walk away with a win again. Don't want to, spook any of the Empire fans out there, but that tends to be the trend for TrainHard.
Love Mick's little stance there as well. Durza starts out with a 3k onto the Jaeger just as we get announced there's Nurse coming through in the next patch. Go figure. Of course, if you haven't seen those guys, designer notes are out. There are some changes in there. Feel free to have a look in the break, have a rifle through those. They're not super long this time, I'd say, but there are some interesting changes in there that I would love to sit and have a conversation about, Jess, but there is indeed a game that we need to get through first and foremost. Let's see how this Eastern take starts out. It's the same rotation as what we saw out of TrainHard in the first half on the defense. And there's been a quick clear of this east side CC hold, and also a very slow one in which we saw Empire never even get past CC and Red Stairs in the first place.
That's why you have to keep yourself in the game, keep that head and that mentality. I don't want to say that there's any momentum shift here because it's been back and forth for almost the entirety of this matchup. So really, mentality here is just to keep that going at the very least. My big thing here is that when we saw Empire attack onto this, they had quite aggressive players to go up against. I don't think Team Empire will make the same mistake. I think they will try and use this as a time delay, whereas TrainHard used this exact hold more as an opportunity to take early kills. And when it didn't work, it failed miserably. But when it worked, it absolutely worked very well. There we go. Another very aggressive Scyther to come out for the side of Empire. And he seems to be the only one that does it, and with his teammates trading behind him.
It's pulling off for Dan, because last week against G2, when it was Citizen versus Dan seemingly all the time, between them both, they were just exchanging blow for blow, 2Ks, 3Ks galore, it felt like. Whereas today, Scyther's like, yeah, I really fancy a go of it myself, actually. Swinging out to get 2 kills on the breach as well. Has again crippled the attacker's dreams here. TrainHard, hey, bringing one back with Calx is finding a nice shot onto Always. It is 2 versus 2. Both the hard breachers, the one still left alive here, so not really too much in the way of utility, at least aggressive utility to use. They've got smokes, they've got flashes to play around. Just nervous that they don't find themselves walking into a frostbite at any point as they go vaulting through a window.
I wonder what Chaos's whole thinking was when he was crouch walking over. Did he want to catch someone off guard and he got gifted as a result? Cool,
What?
no problems. Oh,
Why?
there goes the gold bar that we talk about. We talk about those drones being worth gold, especially when you're in the last 30 seconds of a round. You desperately need intel. Look at right where joystick is as well. Some players will prone there and it actually hides 90% of their body. So if he does stay in that position, they don't have a drone to work with. That's dangerous, but they decide to flood the site and do it in unison. What a shot through the gold bars on a joystick's head as well. And as they start the play, it is a unified 1v1 essentially until Blaz finishes it. That impact will hit, but Chaos's gun hits harder and Shepard goes down. And when it looked all lost here for TrainHard, they recollect themselves. No more just running in one by one through the CCTV breach. They'll use the smokes and flashes to their advantage. And I mean, what a nasty support player Chaos has been.
It's these late round scraps where we're seeing the kind of early round exchanges where it's bringing things down to the 2v2, the 3v3, the whatever it turns into. And then it's just who gets the small advantage kind of edges it over the finish line there. And I worried for a couple of seconds that it was going to sit in a spot where, you know, joystick being set up inside a Logi, it wasn't really going to do too much for them. He'd be kind of sat by himself. We see the Alder go up into a 1v2 and not walk away the victor. They did square up to go for the fight together, but TrainHard just hit a little bit better in that round. Unlucky, I guess.
Well, that's how it can happen sometimes. It comes down to gunfights, and I do want to point out that they had worked that out really well. They'd blocked lines of sight with the smoke. Usually someone's sitting inside a bathroom. No one was even there, but they'd pre-thought about it. So I think for TrainHard, there was so many glimmers of hope of them being a good team. I think I said in the pre-show that I felt that TrainHard needed a stage or two to really collect themselves as a team. They were thrown into the deep end by being put in EUL as pretty much a brand new team. It doesn't matter how many experienced players you have on a lineup. When you're a brand new team, you have 5 people that need to synergize and work out coordination. That takes time. So a really big shout out to them for staying strong mentally and beyond.
I mean, we spoke about like players like Blaz, for example, and the kind of magic that he would work. You would, back on Penta, stick a drone at his feet, let him run around like an absolute lunatic, and he would slaughter everyone in the server. Especially back in Challenger League Season 11, that was the one before the season that we just had. He was by far and away the best fragger they had, and whilst he didn't quite retain that title in the last season, that instead went to Mexis playing for the side of Homeless. I think for Blaz, he still retained that greatness, and it seems like here in EUL, like so many other players, and Sloth is a player that jumps to my mind, they may have shone in other leagues, but as soon as you put them in the big leagues, it's not as easy to shine as brightly as they want done. I'm not at all using that as a slight against them, but it does go to show how big a step up a league like EUL can be from something like Challenger League or Nationals.
Remember Joe? I'm just saying, there's been so many examples recently where players have absolutely popped off in the predecessing league or in other leagues, and they come into tier 1 play and they absolutely crumble. And a lot of people say, no, Joe did good. He did. I mean, in the first couple of games when he was let loose, and then tier 1 teams figured him out, as tier 1 teams do, and they just shut him down time after time. So realistically, you can have crazy players, but the moment they get tossed in the deep end, there's only so long you can thrash around before you get tired.
Absolutely agree. And that game one, we'll never forget it, actually, was here on Clubhouse. Every window or doorway he was at, he made Clubhouse his playground. It was like a kid's wacky warehouse. You know what a wacky warehouse is, by the way? Have you got those in Australia?
No, I don't.
Wacky warehouse is like a massive warehouse where you just go and have like a ball pit and slides and all kinds of...
is that what it's called? Yeah, we call
I assume
it like
you've
a
got them.
ballpark.
Ballpark. Yeah, it's like a wacky warehouse. Sounds way more fun.
It does. I'll give you that.
If we can find an adult wacky warehouse, we'll go and find one at some point. It'll be hilarious. They
Guys, we will make content. I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, we will make content of us running around a wacky warehouse together, because that is going to be the funniest thing. I used to go around them as a kid. But I don't want to take too much away from this game, because the one thing that I wanted to point out that I thought was really interesting is how much they invested over to construction. Did Empire know that TrainHard would push here? Is that what they're sort of banking on? That, okay, they're going to do a really heavy reliance push over to construction? Because look how many mute jammers and reinforcements were there, and they haven't reinforced this wall. So that if anyone tried to open it, it would require soft breach, or they could get shot through it.
They're absolutely trying to say, no, you cannot open up logistics. It's why they committed 3 mute jammers inside of construction. We've seen it historically, actually, when Empire on the attack, they opened up the logistics wall so they could get a bit more of a firm grasp on construction. But here, by trying to say, no, you have to come through the single doorway, leave the whole wall soft so you have this lovely line through it, you can very comfortably swing onto anyone that tries to challenge. And I'm very surprised to see that it wasn't Scyther standing behind the bomb playing that angle, but instead, look at the top of your screens. Scyther is flanking up towards main stairs here, but he's got to go quick because the smokes have been deployed, and surely the team is saying, guys, they're executing, they're starting to think about a push. We need to think about a flank coming out right now.
Actually, what they're doing there, Des, is they're deploying the smokes early so that they can bait out any player denial. This is what Empire did on the previous round when they were tossing out some of their C4s. Blaz will catch Shepard, but Scyther will catch Dirtzer in return. And for me, they're going to crouch walk on in. They should have been aware of this, but they weren't. And as the crouch walk comes out, Scyther has no opportunity but to rotate all the way back to assist his team. Blaz reads straight into it, and it is only up to Always. They know he's in garage. That's a free plant. No C4 in hand. And with 15 seconds left, if you can take out the platform player, he can do something. But it's Chaos is yet again hitting absolute headshots for his team. And dare I say that with that initial smoke bait, and mind you, they smoke baited twice, that was really good. I think Empire misread that. Did they not know construction wall was open? Why did they only smoke the door?
It was... I don't know, Jess. You'll have to go and ask him for the real answer on that one. I think, again, though, when the only impact that Empire have, the only gunfight they walk away the winner is ones when Scyther's on the flank and gets a couple. I think he got one through the hatch from below, actually, as well, which is quite nice, which is something.
That was it, yeah.
Yeah, but that was all he really found. And as soon as he came up red, guess what? Mr. Blaz was there to greet him and go, sorry, top floor's been fully booked out by the TrainHard team. You are not allowed into these premises right now. And they shut him down. And from there, it's as simple as... I almost want to say this now, and I almost want to clip this for myself and look back at it in 6 months' time. We spoke about the importance of points. These 3 points we get today could prove to be absolutely huge when it comes down to relegations, even more so if it would be a team like Empire that are struggling near the bottom of the board.
Whoa, 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 calm down. You are ahead of yourself here. As a Russian team fan myself, they are not out of this. TrainHard have only secured themselves at least 1 point by being on the 6th round. And if you're not sure about what I'm talking about here, Empire, if they win the next 2 rounds, they will propel themselves into overtime. Then we go into OT points. Whoever wins OT gets 2. Whoever loses OT gets 1. So Empire are not out of the points running just yet, nor has TrainHard secured only their 2nd win of EUL this stage. So I don't want to throw anything out there just yet, but they are looking good. I'll give you that much, Des. They're looking good.
I think what we have to remember is exactly where these 2 teams sit in the standings as well. Both currently, you could say joint. Like, I think on round difference, it currently sits, or even on head. How does it kind of work, actually? How is that being sorted? I'm kind of confused because Empire have got a better round difference than TrainHard. Yeah, but the head-to-head's being played now. And by
so whoever wins this will win.
Yeah, absolutely. But they're currently at 3-3, so there is no head-to-head. On round difference, Empire are in the lead, but they sit in 9th behind TrainHard. Very confusing. Not too sure what's going on there. I'm equally not sure why the hell we've got an ace that is dead so early, pushing his way down main stairs. They've almost done a Durza to TrainHard here, because Blaz was pushing down to open up, I think, Church Wall really quickly. And he was like, well, guess what? Got a shotgun ready for you. Come take some.
That's a really precarious position for Shepard to be playing. I would expect Scyther to be there. I mean, look at how aggressive Scyther's been on both on the attack and the defense. Instead, it's a shotgun-wielding Shepard. Why not? But he was very aware, considering how quickly those cameras, those default cams were shot out. Now he's just going to collect some more drones. Hopefully he grabs that and moves out. I think what will happen now is he can pop the C4 above him as well when he can hear the footsteps, and that will allow him, as the person either pushes up or moves back, to be able to secure the kill. That's what he's looking for here.
I think he was hoping Noera would be a little bit closer here, and he's going to walk his way back down. They're going to see him. Oh, bit of a kill trade coming through almost between both sides. Noera down to about 50 HP. Shepard about 20 here, so you can tell who walks away the better of that trade. But playing behind that mute jammer on the corner makes it so difficult to get any information on the tight corner without the drone being a bit further away and getting tagged out for free by the shotgun. But Shepard has said, yep, I know I've overstayed my welcome. I will back away to Moto. Good, sir. Feel free to step down and try and take control of main stairs once more. But 2 minutes have been wasted. They've killed the ace. They're definitely not going to be getting Church Wall open without getting the... Well, even now they can't, because Chaoxis is out of exothermics. They have got no way of Church Wall being open. This is going to have to be a kitchen and a dirt push.
Oh, Spark looked like for a moment he was going to go running down dirt with them, but they really need him to actually drop down the kitchen hatch, because if they don't, then he'll get shot out by Joystick Shotgun. He's in a 2v1 right now here, and he's popped out his last smoke babe. But look behind him, he has to trust that his teammates has his back. He doesn't. Grenade will pop out, and they will take Armory control as a result. With 30 seconds left, one player down on the kitchen hatch. It is Spark, and Dirts are eating a lot of that remaining smoke babe. They have every angle to their disposal here. It is a quantified 4v1 essentially. Dirtsa can't pick up Spark where he is, and with 15 seconds left, Des, I think this is going closer and closer to OT.
Oh man, there's been so many times that this has come down to an early death in a round. This is the biggest example of it. Blaz, no idea. Like, if he was trying to catch them off guard and just think, I can get this open, guys.
Maybe?
There's nothing to worry about. And they just didn't account for the fact that there would be a mute. Admittedly, it's not really what you expect to see at the bottom of main stairs. A mute with a shotgun sat behind a mute jammer. Fair enough. Not really something that you're used to seeing at the bottom of main stairs. Dies early, and because they have no hard breach left to threaten any of the angles, it is the easiest job in the world for them to hold the angles like inside of dirt, to wait for an attempted push to come down through kitchen and close the round out. It sounds critical, but all of that stems on Blaz's early death and a lack of droning from TrainHard.
Unless they droned, saw Shepard setting up the rotates late in the hallway. This is just a theory, and I'd have to go back through the VOD. They saw him still setting up with his shotgun, and he thought, oh my god, if I run down, I can kill him making those rotates. But Shepard had just finished the moment someone got off a drone, ran up to that door. I mean, it could just be a timing thing. I'm gonna be honest. I'm just speculating.
You know what, mate? I always think about it in the kind of perspective of, like, dare I say, bigger teams as well. Like, imagine if this was G2 and Kayak had just done what Blaz had done. Everyone would be going absolutely batshit crazy about him, throwing around away, intense, screaming about it. Because it's a lower kind of ranked team, we kind of think, oh, well, you know, they're still making mistakes, still finding themselves out. We're so lenient. Why can't we say, Blaz, sorry, buddy, but you just screwed up big time.
All right, I'll say it. Blaz, don't be such a silver bro. All right?
Don't be a Des, Blaz. Don't do it.
Yeah, don't be a Des. It is bad enough to have to cast with him, let alone the moment I live in EU, I'm going to have to carry him in ranked as well. I mean,
oh, it's going to be glorious. I can't wait to screenshot you going like 0 and 8 or something like I did to Fresh. It was the best. He genuinely, when I got into playing rank properly and I was like silver 1, he came and duo with me and went 0 and 8. And I was like, Fresh, you're like plat diamond. What is this? He's like, didn't happen. I was like, hey, mate, I got the screenshot.
Oh, hit it. Hit it. Oh, did Blaz know? Did he hear it rip?
Surely
I mean, I think he already had it in his hand, though, so I think the ripping sound was gone. No, he backed up the drone. Oh, Blaz is so lucky that he did that. That is really good. He's not going to throw his life away and be the opening death 2 rounds in a row. Not again, because guess what? This is TrainHard's last opportunity to get 3 whole points, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, we're projecting or propelling ourselves into overtime here. And once we get into OT, points start to get really precarious. Both of these teams desperately need the points. I know Des has harped on about it a lot for the long term, but in the short term, you don't want to be the bottom tier team. You just don't. You've only got 3 more play days left, including this one. Now is when you can get yourself off the bottom of this leaderboard.
They're just constantly pulling at each other's legs here to drag them back towards the bottom of the leaderboard as they're kind of reaching forward to climb into 6th, 7th place here. I think Virtus.pro sit ahead of both of these teams on 7 points. They're both currently on 3. As you say, TrainHard guaranteed at least 1. Empire with a chance to step up and collect 2 if they can get us into overtime and close the game out once we get there. Let's see how this round proceeds, though. 1.5 minutes in. No one yet dead, touch wood. No one's currently yet gone down, and they've got control of this east side. So for Empire, they bailed on the CC hold relatively early on. This was the Maestro cam that cursed them last time because they couldn't clear it out. If you recall, they're going to get rid of it nice and early, and I heard the rip of a grenade then and thought, please don't tell me they're about to nade and Zofia in at the same time. Please, no.
I absolutely thought they were. Spark will pocket it, and well, when you rip the pin, you can put it back on in. That's what he says, and he'll pocket that one for later, which might come in clutch as the round sort of progresses. They do have CCTV control, and unlike them themselves when they hold it, it doesn't look like Empire has committed any bodies to that. That's actually going to work really well here for Empire because they'll have enough people to be able to stop the ingress, because last time they held this, if you remember rightly, Des, they lost a lot of players all the way down to the dying second. Sparks wants logic control, and it's going to be always there with Dan by his side. Carbine will rip through multiple, but it's Blaz there with the AK to be able to slap back, in these trades from Empire is what will propel them into overtime. They've done it so well on multiple of their defenses and attacks. And now guess who's left? Chaos is the support main himself, who makes it absolutely rain kills.
He can do on the right day. Today's been a little bit of a quieter one compared to his 15 kill delivery from before, but we still have overtime to go. If this round is anything to go by, Jess, there's no way he picks up 3 kills here. This scrap at the bottom of the table has just turned into an all-out brawl. They're bringing along the Knuckle Dusters, ready for an overtime here. It's going all the way through to overtime, potentially a full 15-round map between these two teams.
A lot of people are going to be going, train hard, more like throw hard. And I have to clap back at all of the people that are saying that right now. All the people that are saying that misinterpret the fact that Empire had been losing players unnecessarily early in the round, and only in the past 2 rounds to get them to overtime have they taken those opening picks. And we know that teams, and I don't know if this statistic still holds true to this day, but I remember, in my early analyst days, 6 Invitational 2020, for example, there was a statistic that was formulated to say that teams who got the opening kill were 70% more likely to win the round than they were before. So that bodes really well for teams. It's the same when you get the objective down. This is boosting your chance of winning rounds exponentially, and that's what Empire have had these past 2 rounds. So I wouldn't say it's throw hard. I will say, however, they did lose all of the buffer room that they had.
Yeah. They were 2 rounds ahead at the start. They carried on being 2 rounds ahead at 6 and 4. And Empire have just again clawed their way back up, looked to drag them down to the depths and say, no one gets 3 points today. No one gets that saving grace that might move them higher up the table if teams like VP start slipping up. Staying down here together, brothers. That's what they're all screaming at each other. Let's see, though, how CC goes. TrainHard jumping on to the defense. That's continuing. And again, that kind of lick towards the Gnar once more coming out. It's the Bandit stepping in instead of forget what it was they had back in the first half. It's going to kill me. But the Malusi, the Aruni, the smoke, the sort of things that we've already seen brought along here.
I'm glad that they'll have that Syria gate on that window again. Remember, it came in clutch, forced one of the Team Empire players to have to jump on through it, go to his death, so on and so forth. I do like that instead of double reinforcing Garage, they've now given that up. That was round number 1 they did that, and the moment they saw that it didn't deter Empire at all, they just gave it up. They opened it up for them. They needed those long lines of sight for the trade and for the post plant, and that's what they've been able to get. Spark shoots it. There we go. I wanted this last time, and he does it. Woo! That is a brilliant bit of bandit tricking there. That's going on the replay, and I tell you what, they have wasted so much of their hard breach because of one good bandit tricker. His name's not Spark for nothing.
He's done a really good job there to burn through all the Selmas, although again, normally you'd see an exothermic committed onto the wall at the same time. That was just Joystick with the Selmas making that happen. You got Shepard still holding on to both of those hard breaches, which makes me question, where are we going to see those committed? Because it's very unlikely to be the cut the cash wall, given half of it is soft. So I'm thinking immediately, okay, we look down towards the single wall in construction getting opened up. We look towards garage door getting opened up, or even logistics if that's where they're playing. In fact, I imagine that's going to be the setup, but Scyther, does he know about the player holding into his left? I'm not convinced he does.
I don't think so. No, I am not convinced either. And the reason I gasped is because he almost just shift W'd his way into that room. He's going to open up the window behind Blaz. Blaz doesn't seem undeterred. He knows it's a red herring. He doesn't have to focus on it. And as a result, he'll be able to take out Scyther, who, I'm sorry to say, buddy, but when Blaz pulled out the silver play, you pulled out the silver play by not droning. Drone yourself in or get someone else to drone. And guess what? There's the delayed drone now. I mean, that would have been useful 15 seconds ago.
That's Joystick just sitting there shiftily, like swifting his eyes from side to side as his drone runs in a good 5 to 10 seconds too late. Gonna see what he can step in and do. You got Blaz on the downstairs. That C4 coming out. It was, but Joystick had already moved over, now taking a few firefights out towards the cash doorway. It's Spark holding tight here. Has a shield to play behind, has ADS, sees the man, but doesn't fire the shots. Flippy Joystick still stood up for at least for now, but you can see the intent here, looking again out towards the west, looking to get inside a cache and get that opened up. Finally, Blaz gets collected from above.
That C4 hold he made was where he also got his death from as well, which I think is quite ironic. He doesn't net a kill from the C4, but he gets killed back as a result. There are so many guns looking over a con. Where are the rest of the Empire players? Are they all focused there? I think there's one below, 3 in con. I hate to say it, but using this one-dimensional push means you have to hit shots, of which, okay, Joystick's hitting them. He'll take out that bandit player. What are you doing, Durza? You're the big hitter for TrainHard, but you're standing in front of an open window.
Oh, how was that not a headshot? I definitely saw Chaos's head, but I think got onto his arm instead. The small dip down, but Empire pulled off a BDS. It doesn't matter if you have a massive tactical disadvantage. They're in a spot where they can hit shots, and they don't care. Empire come through with a flurry of gunfights, a flurry of numbers pushing to sight. They close out round 13, and at this point, put themselves one match away from taking the lion's share of points and walking away with 2. Gotta say, Jess, you called it. It was far from over, even when TrainHard was sat at 6 rounds.
Woo! That round was littered with mistakes from TrainHard, to the point where Empire, even though they were doing a very one-dimensional push, which shouldn't work when you have all of that utility to work with, C4s, the right angles, the right reinforcements, it shouldn't work. The attacking team should be at a disadvantage. But Dirts are standing in front of an open window. Surya Gates don't block bullets, buddy. I'm very, very sorry. And as a result, Blaz, who opened up a C4 hole, looks on up and dies through it. I mean, I can't say that TrainHard would have expected this outcome in that round, but that is 3 rounds in a row they will lose to Empire, who looks like they're just getting better and better every round.
They do, but let's see how the gym and bedroom setup goes. We've spoken a lot about these CC holds. We even had a bit of a comment about the frost mats that haven't yet come to light. Thankfully, we've seen a good number of games so far where, in fact, it was an APAT last week that a player dropped through the logistics.
Yeah.
The hatch, Yura, it was, I remember, very explicitly dropped straight into a frost mat, and it was like, guys, the most basic of droning would have shown you there was a frost mat there. What the hell is going on? But maybe in the rush of it, they got caught out. Heaven knows. But we'll see if it comes into effect in this round. Of course, you see a frost as well, and we always speak about it not just being about the mats. It's about the shotgun. It's about the shield. It's about the great C1 that they carry around as well. Frost does bring a lot to a lot of lineups, but really it feels like only a few teams are starting to kind of popularize her in their lineups.
We saw Scyther run out of that red hallway and peek onto the breach, got a double kill for the chopper, and then was shut down very quickly. I wonder if he'll play aggressive again, or whether they'll play the time denial game, because it does seem like a lot of Empire, their strategy looks like it's time denial, and then their players act a little bit differently. And you can see Dan at the moment hasn't had the best of season by far. And that is not an understatement. That is not to talk him down as a player. He was extraordinarily impressive when I watched him live at the Milan finals. Rookie of the year by far then. Come into this year and been a little bit slower in his uptake in both the kills and all of his roles. And that's why things have shifted around and why you're probably seeing Scyther more on the fragging role.
Starting out on the... Well, we've seen this quite a few times as well, where you drop down the Salma and then pop it out after it's opened up one piece, just to give you the sightline that a Habana normally would, for example, without exposing your full body. You can still crouch underneath the wall that way and get across to the window without exposing yourself as you go to swing across, and that clearly is what they were gunning for. 60 seconds in, mind you, and we're still focusing out towards the east here. Scyther, being his usual aggressive self, still holding and almost taking a challenge onto Noera, who was a little bit aggressive, I think, on towards the stairs at first, but will back away. Keeps himself alive now, and again, not a single point of damage inflicted between the two sides. 90 seconds into the round, and Scyther goes, yeah, I've wasted enough time here. These guys have burnt quite a bit of utility. They've gone through a concussion, they've gone through an impact, they've gone through a Selma, 2 EMPs. I've done my job. I'm getting back to site.
Yep. That's all it is for Empire, and you could see the last time TrainHard attacked onto here, and they got a free, impact onto that Maestro camp that's not currently there, is that what they were trying to do is to just delay time almost as far as they could down to the 1 minute 30 mark. It is very clear that their support staff have turned around and gone, if you can hold this to the 1 minute 30, you don't need to be there any longer. We believe that's enough time delay. Go back to site, play numbers there. Last time they did that, it worked really well for them. I'm guessing that's what they were hoping to repeat, because this is their match point now.
It is indeed. I mean, again, I'm always getting nervous when we enter that final 60 seconds and we see all 10 left alive, because it normally means you're not going to see the occasional kill here and there. It's going to be an absolute flurry, and it starts off with a bang, the way that you dream of, always with a great C4 sailing out onto Noera on the south balcony. And now the push comes in. Blaz bolting in for one. Spark right behind. Do they know about Scyther in the back? Surely they do. They don't even know he's there, because he gets the guy in the hatch. What is this? Finds a second down. Another Scyther has just done it for Empire. 3 kills out of nowhere, moves to 14 on the map, and TrainHard, man, droning, it's so important. How have we not learned this after this whole map so far? Chaoxis finds one to start a bit of a recovery hope here, I think, for TrainHard, but 10 seconds remain. We've been here already, Jess. It sent us into overtime before. There's no way they recover. Empire and Scyther specifically strike deep into the TrainHard heart and get themselves the 2 points in what has been one hell of a map here on Clubhouse.
4 rounds in a row, ladies and gentlemen. Empire, they have what it takes. And unlike their Russian comrades of VP, they don't give up in the dying seconds or the dying rounds. They will propel themselves into the 2 points. Unfortunately, after all TrainHard did that entire match, they will only walk away with 1. The scoreboard is very top heavy for Empire, but there's not a single player that didn't have impact when the time mattered. And well, there you go. Team Empire will be your victors here today. And how does that shake up the standings? I mean, it's not our job to break it down. I know the analysts will, but I bet you, Des, you and I were talking about it, that this will throw a big spanner in the bottom of the standings and possibly lift Team Empire out of the danger zone.
Well, I think now that they've both gone through to overtime in this match, Secret play later on. If they win, they jump over both these teams, lift themselves out of 10th place for the first time this season and would sit in 8th. But either way, it's still one hell of a scrap here at the bottom of the table. That game, I think we can all say, was entertaining, albeit messy at times, but still a great way to kick off Super Week. Let's get over to the desk and get their thoughts on this matchup.
Thanks so much, Jess and Des. And yeah, I got to say, TrainHard